have you been with UCC soccer?
I have been here since July of 2022, so I came in right before the start of the season 2 years ago.
Okay. And do you coach any other sports for UCC?
I don't, just the head soccer coach for here.
And what do you love about soccer?
I grew up playing it for most of my life. I played it since I was 4 and played college, high school, club, all of it. And I love the community aspect it brings. And soccer was always a really big outlet for me, and I want to continue to create it as an outlet for kids coming up, and especially with COVID happening, people need an outlet in life, and want to continue to make that a fun thing.
And what is your favorite memory from this season?
This past season, I think my favorite memory had to have honestly been the last game of the season. We didn't win, but having so many of our fans and family and friends there, having it being our sophomore day, it was just a super high intense and very active game. I think it was the best collective game we had played. And just the energy, it was so fun, and the girls fed off of it, and so I think for them that's going to be a memory they'll have as well.
What's kind of a message that you kind of give out to your team every game or so?
We're really big. We do some meditation before each game, so we do a lot of grounding, I would call it. Just really putting themselves, I have them lay out on the grass, turf, whatever we're doing, and close their eyes and just really picture moments that they want to be successful in. Whatever that is for, defense, it's making a tackle, it's scoring a goal, whatever it is for them that day, really trying to imagine it, visualize it. And then they have accountability partners on how they can be hey, my goal is to do X, Y, and Z. How, this is how I can need you to help me, get there. And with that comes, like you said, helping each other push past that. They're able to do that for each other. So I would say that's not something I say, but it's a ritual we do. And it seems to be very successful for them.
What ways have you seen the team motivate each other throughout a game that may not be going the way they want it to go?
I think definitely as individuals, they're really hard on themselves, which is great because obviously they're having a really high expectation for themselves, but being able to pull each other out of that and continue to encourage them, be hey, you're fine, get the next one. I think that uplifts them a lot in their communication in the sense of just reassuring that they can get it. They're capable of doing it. It's just putting the mindset to it. I think they're really good at pulling each other out that way and continuing to push each other, especially when they're exhausted. Biggest thing I say to them is you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for your teammate next to you. And I think they're really starting to get that mindset of I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing this so my teammate doesn't have to run 50 yards for me, or vice versa. So I think that's the biggest thing.
What's the game that was really hard for the rest of the team that you bounced back from, you'd say, pretty successfully?
I think one game that was really hard was going into the second half of conference. So we play each team twice. We were up in Salem playing Chemeketa, and we were going really strong. We were fighting through some injuries, which wasn't great. We had quite a few girls out with concussions. We had a couple hamstring issues. But we were down at one point 2-1. And eventually we ended up losing that game 4-1, but they were very frustrated with that sense, but they also knew that they had done so much good in the game that it was just those couple moments that they let up. And there were some really amazing goals that Chemeketa scored. So I think the bounce back from that was, I can't remember what our next game was after that, but even that week they were not down on themselves and they continued to move forward. They saw the growth that they had. And for our team, that was something they really struggled with, being so young, was being able to let a game go and move on to the next one. I think that was the biggest growth part.
What are some traits that you see in this year's team with some of the members that are playing but are going to move on to a different school next year that you're hoping to see in the incoming freshmen?
I think just leadership. I think each of our sophomores, they have their own way of being a leader. One is very vocal, one leads by their actions, and the other one, she's just more of like a individual type of person. She'll come up to you and have a personal conversation. And so I think what they're going to bring into their next programs is going to be exciting, because they have high standards, and I think my freshmen this year see that and they want to replicate that. And I encourage them to find it in their own way, right? Like somebody who's really quiet, I'm not going to ask them to be
So what's something that you've learned this season that you want to bring into next season?
I think the biggest thing I've learned has been the mentality of never quitting. Even if our team like did not know what was going on and they were just fighting through injury or just exhaustion, like they never gave up and they still put their body on the line. And that's something that I really use as like a culture aspect of who we want our team to be. We want to be a high press team, and even if they were exhausted, they still did that. And I think it translated to really good moments for us. So I think that's what I want to continue.
So what are your hopes for like next season?
My hopes for next season is to make playoffs. I think with the experience of all of the girls that I have this year, my team this year was I had 12 freshmen out of 16 players. So very young team, and so having their experience translating and the excitement and the tenacity that my freshmen have coming in, they're super excited to come in and start playing, and so I think we could be a really strong competitive team. I would say the biggest thing I'm excited for is the intense games and how we can pull through in certain moments.